such wonderful plans for... Oh, yes, it's so... Oh, shit. It's okay. I still have the... Oh, slippery little fuckers. Okay. Who do I know that's really good at Oh, never mind.
Hello?
Jay. Okay, I have a bit of a problem over here that requires your speciality.
What's up?
All the Plutos have been turned into zombies!
Really? Alright. Yeah. I'm on my way.
Okay, get over here as fast as you can. Oh, good, you're here. Okay, they're all in there. I'm leaving. If you don't die, call me.
Still sealed. No. Hello, I'm Jay Masterson, and welcome to Eagle Land. Due to an incident, Plutoburns will be unable to host, so I'll be substituting for him. And considering what's happened today, I think it's a little more appropriate to review Resident Evil. Some of you may be familiar with the franchise, and as a big fan myself, despite its recent shortcomings, I was definitely excited when I first saw this on the shelves. Set between the years 2011 and 2012, this manga serves as a prequel to Resident Evil 6. It stars Professor Douglas Wright, an advisor to the BSAA, the Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance, and his nephew Riki Tozawa. The manga also features a pair of favorites from the games, but we'll get to them shortly. We start off seeing Professor Wright given a lecture about how anthrax has been used in bioterrorism before, and how the world now faces a serious threat. Like good students, most of his class is paying attention. Except his nephew. Great, we're 2 pages in and I'm already bored. We then see Professor Advisor Disease Man and Sleepy walking down the hall. You know, you should really stay awake during class. You're barely passing as it is. Well, it's not my fault your viral horror stories are boring. And don't call me uncle on campus. We must separate our personal and professional lives. No wonder you're still single, said the 22-year-old who's never had a girlfriend. This manga has 2 pages to get interesting or I'm gonna start shooting something. That sounds promising. All of a sudden, Bugman gets a handwritten letter, and the look on his face tells us all we need to know. Oh yeah, that, the title of the manga, and his opening lecture. Gee, I can't imagine what it could possibly be. So Advisor Bugman rushes out of the office and decides it would be a good idea to bring his nephew with him. He tells Sleepy that if he helps, he'll give him extra credit. Without questioning anything, Sleepy agrees and they hop on a plane to Asia. Their destination? The largest and most prestigious school in the entire continent, Marhawa Academy. Hey, Uncle, are you seriously going to give me extra credit just for coming with you? Yeah, I'm serious. Dead serious. Ha! That was so funny I forgot to laugh. Professor Bugman explains to Sleepy that the school's headmaster asked him to conduct an investigation into a mysterious phenomenon that has taken place, believing it to be a biological weapon, and then reveals that the headmaster, Mother Gracia, is an ex-girlfriend of his. They arrive at the academy and Sleepy is immediately overwhelmed by the size of the place. You're a college student. Granted, this place is a bit larger than your average university, but how small of a school do you have to attend to be that surprised? Or are you just assuming it would be small because you're in Singapore, you racist bastard? Entering the academy grounds, they step out of their vehicle and Sleepy makes a joke about how they're growing world leaders. They are then greeted by Cliché Hot Chick number 1 and Cliché Hot Chick number 2. CHC1 introduces herself as Bindi Bergara, the student council president, and Thing 2 is her best friend and student council vice president, Elisa Lynn. Sleepy's brain malfunctions and his pants do the talking for him. Hi, I'm the professor's assistant, Riki Tozawa, and I'm totally single. Yeah, real smooth, moron. And since we've just been introduced to 2 moderately attractive chicks, that can only mean horror cliché number 3. One of these 2 will die before the manga's over. Anyone want to take a bet on which one? Advisor Professor Bugman and Sleepy Horndog go to meet the school's headmaster, Mother, oh my god, what is that on your face? Mother Mole says she has something to show them, and takes them into the basement. Which brings us to horror cliché number 2. There is always something bad in the basement. And here we see our first zombie. Right about on time, actually, considering the pace of most Resident Evil games. Professor Advisor Bugman instantly realizes what's happened. Yep, no doubt, it's the T-Virus. Bugman warns them to stay back, saying that if it bites them, they'll become infected as well. We need daylight. Daylight? It's a vaccine against the T-Virus. Actually, daylight isn't considered canon. It was the vaccine featured in Outbreak, which is a spin-off, even though it does take place during the same timeline as 2 and 3. And even if it was the actual vaccine, the T-Virus has been modified so many times you don't know which version you're dealing with, which means the vaccine would probably do more harm than good. Dr. Bugman, being the obvious smart person, suggests that they call the BSAA, but Mother Mole rejects the idea, deciding to handle it as a secret internal matter because she doesn't want to risk the Academy's precious reputation. Intercourse the school's reputation! Zombie student! Potential viral outbreak! Priorities, woman! Shut up! So Dr. Bugman and Sleepy investigate the campus, finding no trace of anything that could have caused the first student to become infected, or any evidence that there's a potential for an outbreak. Sleepy gets tired and decides to rest on a bench for a bit. Zombies, huh? Sounds like a bad comic book to me. Yeah, or a bad video game. That's right, Internet. Come get me. Pluto! You forgot the number 1 rule. Only I'm allowed to kill you. Sleepy gets approached by some bored students who want to make fun of the outsider, but Cliché Hot Chick number 2 returns and comes to his rescue. And after driving off the thug students... Oh yeah, you're the one who's gonna die. Sleepy returns to the room given to him and his uncle by Mother Mole and they review their findings for the day. Again, Dr. Professor Bugman says their best course of action is to contact the BSAA, as the chances of the virus spreading and becoming an outbreak is still high. We then cut to a scene showing beloved Resident Evil 6 couple Chris Redfield and Piers Nivens of the BSAA's North American branch. Chris Roydfield and Piers are finishing up a mission at an undisclosed location. Upon completion, they are joined by Mara Biji of the Far East branch. This is where I'm going to start complaining. I know this manga is meant to be directed at RE fans and adult men because that's just how Japan thinks, but no one goes into battle dressed like this lady. Look at how tight her outfit is. I mean, sure, it lessens the chance of her being grabbed, but come on! Most of these things have claws and teeth, all the better to eat you with. Whatever. Wannabe warrior princess tells them they have new orders from HQ, and they are to report the incident to Professor Wright. Chris, Bane of Boulders, remembers the good professor and agrees to go along so he can say hi. Meanwhile, back at the academy, advisor Dr. Professor Bugman is conducting a late-night inspection of the grounds. He remembers that rats were the reason the virus spread throughout Raccoon City and decides to try and capture one for study, while Sleepy is back in their room being useless. Or at least he's sleeping until something wakes him up. His eyes immediately zero in on a certain pendant he saw earlier, and he recognizes the dark figure as Elisa, who is now laying on top of him with her big tits right in his face. Oh yeah, I got $5 that says she's infected. Are you sure you want to do this? Isn't dating forbidden on campus? You could get in trouble. Run, you idiot! Called it! Thing 2 is a zombie. Sleepy freaks out like any normal person would and tries to run away, remembering his uncle's words that once you're bitten, you become infected as well. And because the fates have a sense of irony, guess what? Sleepy gets bitten. And somehow his screams are heard in the courtyard, the headmaster's office, and the room of Thing 1. We then cut back to Chris and his team, who are trying to get in contact with Dr. Advisor Professor Bugman, but they can't seem to get a signal because horror cliché number 4. Mara then receives word that Bugman had requested a sudden leave of absence and did not say where he was going. Back at the Academy of the Dead, Bugman charges into the room with campus security to save Sleepy. Zombified Thing 2 is restrained, and Bugman tends to his nephew's wounds. While tending to Sleepy's wounds, Bugman yells at Mother Moles, saying once again they need to contact the BSAA, and he's not taking no for an answer this time. If we don't deal with this now, it'll just become another Raccoon City. Yeah, you wish. Your situation will never be that awesome. No one asked for your opinion! Mother Mole once again refuses and places Bugman and his infected nephew on lockdown, because obviously the school's reputation is more important than the lives of human beings. Lead investigator Dr. Bugman leans over his nephew, realizing that it's his fault for bringing him in the first place. Sleepy wants him to promise that if he becomes a zombie, his uncle won't hesitate to put him down. But by morning, Sleepy wakes up only feeling a little sore. Advisor investigator Bugman is confused, saying that the signs of infection always show after the first hour of being bitten, and since Sleepy hasn't shown any symptoms, he must not be infected. Bullshit. Yeah, right here. You can clearly see the blood from him being bit. The zombie's saliva is in his wound, it's in his bloodstream, he is definitely infected. No one is immune to any variation of the T-virus. The second this manga started getting good and they pull shit like that, this kid better be infected or I'm gonna be
absolutely livid.
Thank you, Lord Frieza. Sleepy and Captain Dr. Bugman continue with their investigation, causing a ruckus around the whole campus as they try to chase down rodents, thinking they may be carrying the virus. This eventually attracts the attention of Thing 1, and she becomes suspicious. Cliché hot chick number 1 asks them if they have seen a roommate who has been missing since the previous night. Before they have a chance to lie, she realizes that they do know something and begs them to tell her. But before they can say anything, Sleepy begins to hear his dead girlfriend's voice in his head calling for help, as a distant campus clubhouse catches fire and burns to the ground. Alright, no. We are not doing this psychic virus crap. I don't care if her infected DNA is inside you or whatever other Hagen-Dam explanation you can think of. I am not okay with what just happened. And why do the bodies always disappear? The student body begins to panic over the fire, but Mother Mole shows up and quells them all. She tells them the old clubhouse was scheduled for demolition and there is no danger of the fire spreading. No one except our heroes question this, and everyone continues about their day. That is until Sleepy runs off toward the fire, and surprise, surprise, Mother Mole calls the fire to erase the evidence. Thing 1 arrives just in time to get a glimpse of her friend's body and faints. And because Sleepy is a nice guy, he takes her to the infirmary so she can rest. Meanwhile, Corporal Advisor Bugman goes to confront Mother Mole, who is still set on protecting the school's precious reputation. Professor Captain Investigator Bugman finally has enough and tells Sleepy that they are leaving to contact the BSAA themselves. No! You put that away! This is a family show! As our heroic team prepares to leave, we see Mother Mole in her office monologuing about how the school's reputation is hers to protect. And then she gets attacked by another zombie! No! I'm starting to think she had something to do with this whole mess. She's way too calm considering what's going on. Mother Mole's bodyguards protect her from the zombie long enough for her to pull out a gun of her own and shoot it dead. We then cut away to see that Bugman and Sleepy's ride has been destroyed, effectively leaving them stranded. Later that night, an inspection team appears to check out the basement of the academy for reasons. The administrator of the inspection waits outside but gets bored and goes in to yell at all the hard-working employees, only to be attacked by one that has turned into a zombie. Word of the inspection team's demise reaches Mother Mole, and she sends Bugman and Sleepy to meet with her special advanced security guard to investigate. Turns out the administrator escaped, but he is in critical condition, and the other 5 members of the inspection team are all zombies and must be dealt with. So our heroes go in to try and save the day. So ends Volume 1 of Resident Evil: The Marhawa Desire. It's not a bad manga despite being painfully predictable, but that's to be expected from something Resident Evil related. My favorite thing so far is the art. I'm a casual manga reader at best, unlike Plutoburns, who reads so many of these things you'd think his life force frickin' depends on it. But when I saw this on the shelves at my local Barnes & Noble, I just had to grab it. The one thing I really want to give praise to is the art. Again, I don't read a lot of manga, so to see this level of detail is something I just don't see that often. I've spent several minutes on each page just to admire how well done it is. The writer and artist of this manga is Naoki Serizawa, who is primarily a photographer, not a mangaka. He's done a few other bits of work, most notably of which is Seru Lock. And he's also dabbled in cinematography. Assuming his other work is just as well drawn as this one, I would definitely recommend it. Until next time, I'm Jay Masterson, and this has been Eagle Land. I'm taking less.
Domination.